this thing on? Is this thing on? Check, check. Do I still remember how to do this? All right, I hope you had a fantastic break. I hope 2019 was very good to you. But 2019 is in the rear view. It is time for us to start thinking about all the awesome that's headed our way in 2020, and that's what this segment is all about. This is 20 for 2020, and clearly there are many more than 20 cool things headed our way, and there's lots that we don't know, of course, because lots of surprises get revealed around E3 time. But we're looking at games, movies, and some TV shows, some entertainment, basically, that's coming to us that I am incredibly excited for, and I hope you are too. All right, let's get started with a game that's coming up very soon in February, as a matter of fact. It's Iron Man VR from our friends at Camouflage and Sony PlayStation. It is exclusive to the PlayStation VR, not unlike how Spider-Man was exclusive to the PlayStation 4. This is a natural fit. It just makes perfect sense to put on the visor, the VR visor, and feel like I am Iron Man and cruise around and use all of Iron Man's abilities, being able to fly and use your blasters and your repulsor rays and all the cool gadgets and cool tech that Iron Man is capable of. Obviously, the question that I think we all have is there a full game in here? Is it more than just that very cool Batman Arkham demo that Rocksteady made for VR? We want more than that. It's been a few years since then. VR video gaming has matured somewhat, and there are lots of cool ways that you can approach this, and I hope that Camouflage and PlayStation deliver on all of the promise and the potential that an Iron Man VR game can provide. I think they will. I think it's going to be a blast, and honestly, I think Marvel recognizes the importance of this property and this project and this relationship with PlayStation. That's a lot of P's. I think they're going to follow through and they're going to make us something exceptional, and we don't have long to wait. It's coming next month. In March, we've got lots of big games coming out, but I narrowed it down to two big titles that are coming our way. We've got the Final Fantasy VII Remake from Square Enix. It's only the first part of the Final Fantasy. It's such a big game. Came on multiple discs when it was released on the original PlayStation, so I figure that that's kind of what they're thinking here, is that it's so big that it'll take people a long time to get through the first chunk of it, especially with all the new mechanics and the new details to explore and examine. I got some hands-on time last year at E3, and I was in heaven. It's absolutely gorgeous. It was ridiculously fun and very accessible, but also obviously a terrific homage to this pinnacle in Japanese role-playing games that is so cherished by so many. And honestly, that puts a tremendous amount of pressure on Square Enix not to drop the ball on this. I don't think they will. I think it's going to be exceptional, and that comes out in March. Another big game, and it's another VR game that's coming out in March, is Half-Life Alyx. Valve has shown off a little bit of this game, and it is breathtaking. One of the things that you recognize right away when you're looking at some of this imagery is how much everything is interactive, how many little elements are on the screen that you can actually touch and play with. And I guess that's a core tenet of VR going forward, is if they're going to create a fully realized world and not go stylized like Pistol Whip or Beat Saber, you have to kind of make everything touchable and have full physics around everything and make us feel like we are fully immersed into that environment. That's what VR promises, and that's what companies like Valve and other exceptional VR developers are forced to deliver. And, you know, obviously there's going to be some architecture out there, some hardware that might not be up to the challenge and might not be up to all of the best that Half-Life Alyx has to offer, but we need games like this to kind of push the medium forward. I hope it's a fantastic game. I've seen a little bit of footage and a little bit of reaction from players that have been lucky enough to go to Valve and play this game for a while, and they've got a lot of nice things to say, and it clearly looks like it's going to be a full-fledged long title, like 15-20 hours, and it's going to be very rewarding, especially for Half-Life fanatics out there. And I know there's probably one or two of you out there that love Half-Life as much as Blake Siefkin does. That comes out in March.
It's unloaded now!
All right, in April, we've got a bunch of cool entertainment properties coming our way, and I'm going to talk about one that I'm very excited about, and this is the new James Bond movie, No Time to Die. I know James Bond has been around a long time. I know that you could probably throw the phrase, "Okay, boomer," at the James Bond franchise. Don't do that. I love what Daniel Craig has done with the character and what Eon Productions and all the people behind the recent James Bond films have been able to do to mix things up and make it feel like a franchise that's a little more vital, a little more current, clearly taking some cues from what Jason Bourne did a few years ago. Craig is fantastic in this role. This is his last time up to bat as this character. He had an incredible introduction with Casino Royale, which remains my favorite James Bond movie in the entire series. And then he had some mediocre ones as well in his run-up so far. So this one And I know that that's Daniel Craig's intention, is he wants to end on a high note and really sort of go out with a bang. And there's some speculation that some pretty heavy and dark things might happen to James Bond and might shock us all, which would be cool, you know? I mean, this is a franchise that needs to kind of be a little malleable at this point, and they need to try some different things. They did by casting Daniel Craig in the first place. There was a lot of people really, resolutely against that, but he proved them all wrong. And I just hope that this is not only a celebration of the franchise and the character and all the fun that James Bond movies have provided over the years, but also a great send-off for Mr. Daniel Craig. Cyberpunk 2077 also comes out in April and is one of the 20 of 2020 that we are very hyped for. I don't know how much more we need to really hype this game up. I think we're all acutely aware of what CD Projekt Red is attempting to do here, like fully fleshing out a three-dimensional world filled with interesting characters that give us lots of different choices and lots of different ways to approach interactions with them or conflicts with them. Of course, famously, Keanu Reeves is a part of this. It seems like he's a growing part of this because people have responded so positively to the inclusion of this actor into this game.
You're breathtaking.
It looks beautiful. It looks like it's going to play incredibly beautiful. It also looks like it's going to be a game that gives us a lot of content, not just in 2020, but for potentially years to come. And I would hazard to guess on multiple machines. I think that this might be a tricky one for a lot of players when it comes out in April. A lot of super fans out there, a lot of people are going to be sitting there going, should I get it now or should I wait for that inevitable announcement that is coming to the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X or the Xbox platforms later on. It's coming up fast, man. April, we're going to be playing Cyberpunk 2077. And I can't freaking wait, and I know you can't either.
All set.
Resident Evil 3 is coming our way, and based on the incredible success that they had with Resident Evil 2 and the new engine that they're putting all of these games together, Capcom is going to crush it again with Resident Evil 3. It looks absolutely terrifying, and it looks absolutely beautiful, and, all of these characters that we know and love from the franchise are returning. And, of course, what they did with RE2 is they mixed things up just enough to make it a fresh experience. It was the best game on a lot of people's lists. It was their top game of 2019, and I don't know if Capcom was even expecting that, but clearly they're playing things correctly with Resident Evil once again, and they've got all of this great archival material to mine and revisit and bring it out in fresh new ways. I wouldn't be surprised if RE3 does well that they're going to touch Resident Evil 4, even though I would be one that would say, why would we ever go to Resident Evil 4 and remake that classic? They might do it, and that's what's kind of amazing here is we're really seeing that these classic games, these seminal moments in gaming history can be revisited and brought back in, a fresh new way, not just for a fresh audience, but for the lifers out there that remember the original release. And they did that. They achieved that. They got all the success and accolades that they deserve with Resident Evil 2, and I think they're probably going to do it again with Resident Evil 3, and that comes out in a very busy April. In May, we've got Marvel's Avengers. This is the current-gen Marvel superhero team-up adventure that Crystal Dynamics is working on alongside Eidos Montreal and probably other studios around the world. This game looks massive. It looks incredibly ambitious. The stakes are high. The pressure is high. It has to deliver on all of the sort of fan fantasy that we have around these characters, especially with the propulsive success and excess that the MCU has delivered. There's a lot of expectation around this. I really believe in and love the teams at both Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics, and you know how I feel about superhero video games, so I couldn't be more excited about this. I feel like it's going to deliver a fantastic single-player experience, but it's also going to deliver on a cooperative way, and it's also going to give you extended value after the fact. Can't freaking wait for Marvel's Avengers. That's going to be so awesome. I wish that these things timed out a little bit better, though, right? Wouldn't it have been great to see, Infinity War and then go home and play part one of a huge Marvel Avengers experience there, and then Endgame comes out, go home and play the finale of that awesome video game Avengers moment. But at least we get an awesome Avengers project this summer, right? Well, speaking of Avengers projects, we don't get the full team up, but I suspect there's going to be lots of Marvel characters and superheroes in Black Widow, which had an awesome trailer revealed not too long ago. Scarlett Johansson gets her kick at a solo film, which I think she justly deserves. I think she's phenomenal in this role. I think Black Widow is a very intriguing enigma of a character. Obviously, there's lots of layers to the onion to peel back on, and we get to explore a little bit of her history and the relationships that she's had and a lot of the, assassinations that she's probably been a part of. The fact that David Harbour is in this is amazing. I love this actor, and he's so much fun to watch on screen. So I am very, very fired up to see how Black Widow comes together, and also how it is unique and distances itself from the other Marvel movies out there. Another massive game for 2020 also comes out in May, and that's The Last of Us Part 2. This is Naughty Dog showing us that they are the farthest thing away from a one-trick pony. This is a company that has excelled at creating narrative tales that give the player character a ton of agency to feel like they are fully immersed in the story. They did that with the first Last of Us, took our breath away with that game, shocked the hell out of us with its ferocity, its tactility. You felt the deaths in that game. And I suspect that the stakes will even be higher, and these characters that we've grown to love through that game and maybe fear a little bit will probably get darker, because it didn't look like things were getting any better at the end of The Last of Us. Honestly, I'm a little bit nervous about how they're going to beat the success of the first game. Can't wait to find out, though. Naughty Dog, you can never ignore a game that they work on. In June, although there are lots of games coming out, June is also E3 month, so there's usually a little bit of a quieting down as all the releases start to hit. But really, it's a big movie month, and there are two massive ones. Wonder Woman 1984 is coming out. Gal Gadot in the role she was kind of born for, almost in a Robert Downey Jr., Christopher Reeve type fashion, She's perfect as Wonder Woman. It's been a long wait for this movie. They delayed it, but that has just given Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins more time to finesse and tune and tweak and probably make the visual effects even sweeter. The trailer for this movie was phenomenal. They clearly got that 1980s kind of vibe going for them. We may be coming to the end of that nostalgic glow of the 1980s. This might be the capper on it, but it's still such a charming era and such a cool kind of aesthetic to kind of dive into. I love the fact that Chris Pine is in this. I thought he was terrific in the first Wonder Woman, but I also liked his sense of humor in this trailer. I'm looking forward to many more moments like that.
That's just a trash can.
It's just a trash can. Yeah.
Wonder Woman 1984 comes out in June, and it is the movie. It's in the top 3 of the movies that I'm most excited for in 2020. Another thing I can't wait for, even though, it's a little bit weird to prop this up in this kind of volatile era right now, but Top Gun Maverick, Tom Cruise has gone back to playing Maverick, and he's going to be flying all kinds of jets around. Obviously, he's the old wizened warrior that's going to give lots of advice to lots of new recruits and new pilots. There will probably be beach volleyball and just over-the-top machismo and craziness. The director of the movie worked with Tom Cruise on Oblivion, Joseph Kosinski. He also made Tron Legacy, and he is he's got a really cool kind of frame to his films. There's a lot of symmetry, and there's a lot of, he really knows what little pieces to put into every shot, and I'm looking forward to the polish of this movie. And apparently he came up with an awesome story to bring back this character, and Tom Cruise was fired up about that. People have been asking him to reprise this role and go back to Top Gun forever, and we're finally getting that. I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and of course Cruise is kind of wacky and crazy, but he's also very fun to watch on screen. So I'm looking forward to Top Gun Maverick. Another big movie that's coming out in the summer, and I guess the summer, that's when you talk about all these movies, is Tenet. This is the new one from Christopher Nolan, who at this point really just makes massive event movies, and Tenet looks like it is one. It also looks like a big screen adaptation of Control from Remedy last year. It looks very weird. It looks like it plays with time and our kind of sense of what is real and what isn't real. John David Washington is in this, who was in BlacKkKlansman, and he's terrific, great actor. Really looking forward to this. Also, we're going to see Robert Pattinson on the big screen, working with a former Batman director, and I'm wondering what those conversations must have been like. I really don't know how much more I can talk about with Tenet, because it is a big mystery, and that is on purpose, and I think that's one of the things that's most exciting about what Christopher Nolan can do. Like, the guy's name commands our attention. He's kicked ass with Dunkirk and Interstellar and Inception, and of course with the Dark Knight flicks. I can't wait to find out what Tenet is all about, and I am super excited about this flick in the summertime. In November, we've got another massive MCU movie. It's The Eternals. This was it's based on a book conceived and drawn by Jack Kirby. I've actually gone back into the awesome Marvel Universe comics app and read some of these books from the past. Very trippy concept, filled with cosmic gods and really massive and powerful super beings. Famously, Kumail Nanjiani has gotten ripped for his character in this thing, but it's loaded with great big stars. Angelina Jolie is in this, Salma Hayek is in this, Richard Madden is in this, Kit Harington is in this. It's going to be big. Expect a ton of marketing and expect it to be hyped up like crazy. I think that, like what I'm doing, all of you should try to find back issues of the Eternals comic book to kind of familiarize yourself with the universe that Jack Kirby created. Really, really excited to see what this movie is all about, and whether, like they had the success with Guardians of the Galaxy, whether it can kind of jump that hurdle of people sort of knowing that it's a Marvel property but not knowing too much about who the characters are, or how they kind of click in or fit in with the more famous MCU heroes like Thor and Hulk and Iron Man and stuff like that. Really, really curious to see how this one turns out, but I expect, the batting average of the MCU movies is pretty damn high. I think the Eternals is going to be a blast. Now, I put this next one down in November of 2020 only because the first season of The Mandalorian premiered in November of 2019. Second season is coming up in 2020 though, and like you guys, most of you, I'm sure, you watched these first 8 episodes as quickly as you could possibly watch them, probably the minute that Disney Plus dropped them on the service. And I've watched every one of these episodes multiple times. I reviewed all of them. I didn't review the last episode because we were on break when they released it, but it was awesome. And what a great, wrap up to the first season. Great bunch of characters and a really nice corner of the Star Wars universe that's kind of proving out the idea that there is a lot of great storytelling to mine in this universe still. And no matter what you thought of The Rise of Skywalker, there are lots of ways that creators are going to be able to get into this universe and make fun entertainment out of it, and The Mandalorian definitely proves that. And it's not just because Baby Yoda is so damn cute. There's a lot of really great stuff in here, including Pedro Pascal as our main character. He's terrific, but also all of these great little supporting actors and pieces that come in. A lot of comedians showed up in little bits and pieces. Jason Sudeikis, we will never forgive you, man. Never. You're going to live on in infamy for what you did. The rumor is, and the speculation is that a lot of the Skywalker saga characters that we know or have heard of or are tangential or we've seen them in the background or whatever, they're going to be popping up in The Mandalorian Season 2. And Bob Iger has also said, don't be surprised if some of the Disney Plus shows turn out to be movies if they're very successful. These are crazy uncharted days that we're having with Star Wars right now, and I couldn't be happier for it. I can't wait for The Mandalorian Season 2, and my expectation is we're going to be watching that season in November.
I like those odds.
Now, in December, we've got Dune. This is Denis Villeneuve's version of Dune. And if anybody watched Blade Runner 2049 or any of Denis Villeneuve's work, you'll know what an incredible filmmaker this man is. This is his passion project. As much as he poured himself into Blade Runner 2049, he is putting everything he's got into Dune. And it should be a true cinematic achievement. It's got a very big and weird eclectic cast, which is exactly what you want. It's a huge interstellar story. David Lynch made an interesting movie based on this franchise of the books from Frank Herbert, which are all incredible, by the way. You should read the Dune books. But it didn't quite live up to the scope and the scale of Herbert's vision, but I feel that Denis Villeneuve definitely has the chops and the swagger to do that, So we're going to see epic sandworms and massive interstellar battles and, lots of political intrigue across different planets, and the spice is going to flow and it's going to look better than ever, man. I can't wait for Dune. That is the singular movie that I'm most excited for in 2020. I can't believe we're getting another Dune. It's so big, and I think it's the first of, I don't know if it's going to be many movies, but it could end up being many movies. Like a universe is going to be presented for us. Cannot wait for Dune. Now, also coming out in 2020, but we don't know the specific release days or months yet. We know that they're coming out this year, are 5 other big titles. So we've done 15 of our 20 so far. We're going to talk about Ghosts of Tsushima. This is the new one from Sucker Punch. Yes, the people that brought us Sly Cooper. Love Sly Cooper. Love Sucker Punch. They also brought us Infamous, that awesome superhero franchise. But now we're going back to feudal Japan, and we are going to be playing with blade weapons and shurikens and dealing with all kinds of incredible warriors and trying to survive in a very beautiful environment. I mean, this game looks absolutely incredible. I also believe that this is going to be a PlayStation 5 game, like it will be enhanced for the new machine when that eventually gets released. These are some of the most gorgeous visuals that we have seen on the PlayStation 4 platform. We got a nice demo of this at E3 last year, which was absolutely stunning and breathtaking. It's a very big departure for Sucker Punch. They've gone all in on this idea, but that's a team of incredible talent, incredible pedigree, and incredible passion. This is what they wanted to do, so I'm fired up to see how Ghosts of Tsushima comes together. I think it's going to be one of the games that we are talking about for many years after this one. Of course, Halo Infinite has to be on this list as well. It's going to be epic. It's likely going to be tied to the launch of the new Xbox, and it's likely going to be the most ambitious video game that Microsoft has ever paid for. It's had a tumultuous development, but I think that speaks more to the scale and the ambition of the game. Like, a lot of people that were with the game kind of moved off of the game and transitioned to other projects, but I think it's only because it's so big and the stakes are so high with this thing. It has to kick ass. It has to kind of suggest what next gen means. It has to sell very well. It has to appease all of the Halo fanatics from over the years, and it has to appease the Halo fans that love the original Halo stuff. It has to make the 343 Halo fans happy as well. None of those challenges are small, and the game also looks like it's going to challenge all the onslaught of competition that the Battle Royale franchises have been throwing at the first-person shooter genre over the last few years. Of course, we've got a Halo show that's coming in the not-too-distant future, so I'm wondering how much storytelling is interwoven in all of this, which escalates the budget and the scale of the enterprise too. It's hard not to be excited as someone that, you know, has come up playing Halo games from the very beginning. I can remember when it was just a whisper around the halls of Microsoft back in, you know, the early 2000s, and here we are. You know, arguably the biggest thing that Microsoft has ever gotten involved with in terms of a video game project is going to be out this year. I think it's going to deliver, but I think more importantly, it has to deliver for Microsoft as a game-making company. Another show that got moved from 2021 into 2020, and I'm very excited for it, is WandaVision. This is about Scarlet Witch and the Vision as envisioned like a 50s sitcom, I think, is like a Dick Van Dyke type show. That's what I'm guessing and speculating based on some of the imagery and some of the discussions around this. Is supposed to be really twisted and really weird, but very fun with the cast, the actors from the MCU reprising their roles and reprising their characters with all of the effects budgets and the, you know, big scale movie-sized budgets that we'd expect from these superheroes in the MCU, but now built for Disney Plus. So a big, expensive experiment with great ingredients, and I hope it really pans out. And I love the fact, you know, that these are two superheroes with massive powers, incredible abilities, very mind-bending skills, and Disney and Marvel aren't sort of backing away from any of that. They're diving right into that, and it's going to be twisted, and I think we're probably going to get a lot of great cameos from the MCU. I can't wait, man. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I don't even know who you are.
Now, another one of the games that I'm most excited for in 2020 is Dying Light 2. We got an incredible demo of this title at E3 last year. You know, obviously this is a game that really sort of banks on mobility and all of the parkour abilities of you in first person, and that was showcased wonderfully well in this thrilling demo where it just felt like the zombie hordes and the challenges coming in from all sides was, I mean, it was making me hyperventilate as I was sitting there watching all of that. But you also feel like there is a tremendous amount of skill. You know, you've got a lot of ability as the character and the opportunity to pull off all kinds of fantastic acrobatics, as well as get into some serious gunplay and stuff. Lots of puzzles to solve, and there's also been a real sense of trying to build a narrative world and a universe that feels a lot more palpable and satisfying than the first Dying Light game did, which is, you know, really how you can take the pegs out of the first game. So can't wait for Dying Light 2. And the last big game that I want to talk about is, you know, maybe going to surprise some people out there. TT Games is summing up the entirety of the Skywalker saga in a new LEGO Star Wars adventure. And it's not like any of the previous LEGO Star Wars games. It's not like any of the previous LEGO games. It's really a massive open world action-adventure experience. Now, they've toyed with some of this kind of stuff in some of their LEGO titles, but this game is absolutely enormous. You know, lifting off from planets and flying into space and getting into battles inside of massive spaceships and all the whole suite of character, basically any foreground or background character, any of the star characters. It is going to be exhaustive how much stuff they're pulling from the Star Wars lore into this video game. They're promising everything you've seen in all of the 9 major chapter movies, and probably a lot of Rogue One stuff in there too. It felt all-encompassing and massive, and a real treat for Star Wars fans out there, which I am certainly one of. You know, I've really enjoyed playing the LEGO games over the years, and I feel like this is their most ambitious offering to date, and it should be. You know, if they're going to include something from everything in Star Wars, this is the one to kind of bank on. And I can't wait for this game. I can't wait to play this one with my kid. Okay, now I have one other item to add to this list, and you can probably guess what it is. This is going to be the year of new hardware for us to get our grubby hands on. Now, obviously, the PlayStation 5 is coming out this year, and Microsoft has already announced the Xbox Series X, and that sort of leads to the idea that there's going to be multiple SKUs of Xbox coming out this year. It's getting confusing, Microsoft. I'm not going to lie. But definitely fired up to see how all of these teraflops compete with each other and all of the new capabilities that this hardware kind of provides us as gamers. One thing that I'm very encouraged by is the fact that Xbox has resolutely said that this is going to be backwards compatible with all previous iterations of Xbox. And the very strong rumor, which I think we've all been discussing for a while, is that PlayStation will also honor their past and make backwards compatibility a key feature, at least of the PlayStation 4, but maybe go all the way back to the original PlayStation 1. You'll be able to take those discs and stick them into the machine and play those old classic games, and they'll probably open up the shops and let you buy a lot of those old classic games, and they'll probably upgrade them like the Xbox One X was able to do with classic Xbox titles. But I'm also going to throw my hat in the ring like a lot of other commentators out there and a lot of pundits and analysts. I suspect that we're going to get a new Nintendo Switch this year as well. I think it will be 4K, and I don't know if all of the hardware that you need to make an affordable consumer product that can also project stuff at 4K is something that you can walk out of the house with. So I don't know if this new Switch that Nintendo is likely going to provide for us will also, in fact, switch, but I think it will play the classic stuff, but we'll also get some enhanced new software. And I kind of also subscribe to this idea that if they're going to launch new hardware like that, they will have a system-selling title launch with it, and that might be a new Zelda. So who knows? This is going to be an exciting year. We all know that. There's so much to look forward to. You know, a lot of really fun technology, a lot of fun entertainment, lots of things to kind of light up our lives like this. So very much looking forward to talking about all of this stuff with you, and also reading all of your comments about the things that I forgot about in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you very soon. And until then, you play forever.